Defense can go sour. I think they want to change, not that, Pete was fine in the clubhouse, but I think they want to change that whole dynamic there.
Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. The Mets lose Díaz and Alonso in back-to-back days, and my question is, are the Mets back to the Wilpons Mets? We'll be breaking it down with Bob Nightingale on Foul Territory. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. And if you want to be locked in, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Let's go!
It's New York Minute Sports.
All I heard last year was Met fans in the DMs on New York Minute on Instagram saying, we're the kings of New York now. We stole Juan Soto from the New York Yankees. There's a new sheriff in town, and this is a Mets town. Hey, Met fans, do you still feel like that after what's transpired in the last 2 days, after these winter meetings? Literally send no deal to Pete Alonso. Díaz turns around and tells you guys he doesn't want to be involved with your organization anymore. And now the winter meetings have ended. They have come and gone, and the Mets have not adding starting pitching to their team. All they've gotten is low-lev dev, and that just seems like patchwork on the Titanic because, as a Yankee fan, I've seen them firsthand. Good luck. And that Williams trade only made sense if you brought Díaz back. I've said it before on this show. The way that Stearns is the general manager to this team, you would think that he is running the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's like a billionaire's wife and you find her shopping at a garage sale. What are you doing? Steve Cohen's got deep pockets and you're trying to shop at the dollar store. Listen, man, Steve Cohen, he spends money. But you guys have not won anything since he's owned the team. No pennants, no World Series. I thought this was going to change. I thought everything was going to change. Scherzer and Verlander, when the Mets needed a player, they were going to go out and get him, folks. But guess what? It doesn't seem like that is happening anymore. It seems like Steve Cohen was more worried about buying the Mets to get his casino made next door than actually running the New York Mets. I've said it to you before. He threw out a $300 million payroll last year, and you guys had the largest collapse in franchise history, bigger than the Willie Randolph collapses. And that's big, folks. I always used to hear how the Wilpons were cheap and they wouldn't spend. What's the difference now? Díaz and Alonso were no-brainers. The New York Mets had a locker room problem last year, and maybe this is the effects of it. When you let the modern-day Harlem Killebrew, Pete Alonso, the all-time home run leading hitter in your organization, walk out the door and you don't even give him an offer, I'm starting to worry about the owner, I'm starting to worry about the general manager, and I'm starting to worry about the New York Mets in general, because if you look at their roster, it's bad news right now. Just like the New York Yankees. What are you waiting for, Brian Cashman? Get something done now. I've been patient long enough, and if you're going to sit on your hands, all of the New York baseball scene is going to be pissed beyond belief this year. How do you feel as a Met fan? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Steve Cohen's still a good owner after they just mistreated Pete Alonso? You're not going to be able to make that protection up in the lineup for Juan Soto. And maybe this was reason to get rid of Pete Alonso was to free up first base for Juan Soto. But guess what? With the $14-year contract at $61 million a year for Juan Soto, good luck, dude. I don't think Steve Cohen wants to take losses anymore, and he's going to be concentrating on the casino. Now, let's go to Bob Nightingale on Foul Territory and see what he has to say about Pete Alonso leaving the New York Mets.
Moving over to Baltimore, and the Mets kind of being like, nah, we're not going to throw you an offer.
I don't think it's a surprise, really. I don't think they wanted him back last year, David Stearns. I thought there was no way they were going to bring him back this year. He wants to make that team his own way. They grossly underperformed last year, big underachievers. So, hey, he didn't care in Milwaukee. Remember when he traded Josh Hader, and he's doing it his style.
What's not to like about Pete? They don't like his defense. What's not to like? They don't like his defense.
Pete is the most misunderstood guy in Major League Baseball. I really think a lot of the reasons of the problems in the locker room were because of Pete Alonso. He's a little bit of a gym all-star. He's weird, and he's a douche. But I don't care what the guy acts like in the locker room. When he's hitting you 48 home runs a year and he's hitting 277, I don't know about you. Where else are the Mets going to find that production from? Let me know in the comments below, because if you got a better idea than I do, more power to you. But letting Pete Alonso walk out the door, and the Mets have no history. The Mets have the 86 Mets, a bunch of cokeheads, Keith Hernandez, Doc Gooden, and Darryl, who they had to retire their jerseys 25 years after the fact. Don't you want some history? Don't you want to have a guy that could say that he was an all-time Met? And not to mention, what is really 5 years for $155 million? What is that to Steve Cohen? That's a tax write-off. He's got paintings that are worth more than $155 million. He's worth $36 billion. And not to mention, he's doing a disservice to the rest of baseball. You keep letting the LA Dodgers get better and better by getting Díaz and all these guys. You need to be the stopgap so the Dodgers can't build a dream team for the next 8 years, Steve Cohen. You need to help out the rest of Major League Baseball, and this is exactly why we're staring down the barrel of another strike season at the end of 2026. And you know what? A lot of teams might be in foxhole mode because you don't know what's coming down the pike. Teams are still feeling the reverberations from the pandemic year and losing money, and now with a year possibly where they can have no baseball. With guys like Hal Steinbrenner, who are only worth $3 billion a year, they might be holding on to guys. That's why you saw all the qualifying offers go off, and the guys accepted them. They always test the free market. But with the lack of security in next year in the collective bargaining agreement coming up, is David Stearns trying to run a AAA team.
Defense? What's the problem?
I just think they think he's not going to be the same player. I mean, this guy posted 160 games each of the last 3 years. I think they think
Pete Alonso plays every day. He gives you 40 home runs, 100 plus RBIs. He hits 277 and's got an OPS around 800. What's not to like? In fact, if it wasn't for Ben Rice, I would have liked the Yankees to go after Pete Alonso. Some right-handed power bat, unbelievable. 5 years, guess what? Every contract you're going to get in Major League Baseball, guys, you're not paying for the last 3 years. You're only paying for the first 4 years, and you got to take the last 3 years on the chin. That's why the Dodgers backloading every single contract. You're going to have to see that in the collective bargaining agreement because they have guys getting paid until 2048 like Bobby Bonilla. Who knows if baseball's even going to be around or we're even going to be around in 2048.
defense can go sour. I think they want to change, not that, Pete was fine in the clubhouse, but I think they want to change that whole dynamic there. I mean, you're just trading, getting rid of 3 popular guys with, Nemo and of course Díaz.
I even asked Mike from Pudgy Boy Sports about this. I mean, they keep rebuilding for what, Met fans? You haven't won a championship since 1986. What are we waiting for? And you might wonder why I'm so passionate about this subject, because I'm a Yankee fan. My grandfather ran the phones at Shea Stadium since its inception until about 1985. He was a diehard Met fan. I love the Yankees. That's a side note. But the Mets organization, when they are good, it makes it better for New York baseball. It's better for the atmosphere around town. And yeah, Stearns might be rebuilding this in his own image, but Met fans, do you trust Stearns to rebuild this team properly? Because he left the Milwaukee Brewers and they got better.
And now Alonso, I think he says it didn't work. Let me do my way.
Okay, well, what's his way then?
I think
Because you have Soto, you're stuck with Soto. You ain't moving him. You got Lindor still.
Yep.
You got McNeil, who everyone's like, they could he didn't have a great year. What's his way? He tried his. I thought we've talked about this. He tried his way, bringing in cheaper starting pitching and trying to hope he won in the margin,
which completely blew up in his face last year. Canning, Clay Holmes. The problem with the New York Mets was they collapsed because they had no starting pitching and any guys can go more than 3 innings. So why isn't Stearns immediately addressing that, if not sooner? Why is he not giving the whole franchise to Skubal, who would be the CC Sabathia, the Johan Santana, the Cliff Lee, the left-handed guy that you need to lead the starting rotation, it's a no-brainer. And you got your general manager sitting on his hands trying to be smarter than baseball. And as a Yankee fan, I know all too well about it, being Brian Cashman. He tries to outsmart baseball all the time.
You're the Mets, man. You got Uncle Stevie Cohen, right? Like, he's willing to spend. Go get the big fish.
I think he's doing his way like Milwaukee. Hey, it worked in Milwaukee. I'm going to see it work in New York.
But did they win a World Series in Milwaukee?
They did not win a World
Then did
Series.
it really work? That's the next thing.
At least they're in the playoffs every year. Or
Is that what we've now become as a sport? Because
make the playoffs every year. That wasn't the deal when Cohen took over the Mets. It was the Mets are going to be like the Boston Red Sox, the LA Dodgers, and the New York Mets. There was a new kid in town, and he's sitting at the adult table now. This seems like the Milwaukee Brewers. Hey, Met fans, for the amount of price you pay for parking and tickets, do you want your organization run like the Milwaukee Brewers, smart and low contract, or do you want to go out and get the sexy piece? And do you want to go out and have a nice little player under your Christmas tree or your menorah around the holiday season? Because that's what Yankee fans have gotten. We had Gary Sheffield, Hideki Matsui around Christmas time. We would always get a nice little present around Christmas. The Met fans should expect the same thing. That's right. He brings up a great point. Stearns hasn't won shit. Everyone acts like this guy's the boy genius. What does he have to show for it? Making the playoffs every year? That's not good in New York. The Met fans want a World Series, Steve Cohen.
When I talk to people, they're like, well, if we get in, we have a chance.
Right.
But if you get in and get swept in 2 games, then was it still a good year?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But I think everybody just said get in. And, when you look back now, did he really want Juan Soto? I don't think so. I think it was the Steve Cohen sign. What we're seeing right now is, it's probably a deal where, hey, Steve, you got your way last year. Now let me do it this way. You're paying me the most of any executive in baseball. I'm not going to just sign checks. I'm going to do it my way.
Well, think about this. Steve Cohen goes and gives you the big payday, gets the casino. He takes his hands off it and he goes, general manager, the job's yours. I'm no longer involved. Get me Juan Soto, and then I will not be in your ear again. That might have been the way that it went down. The general manager was reticent to accept the deal for Juan Soto because no one wants to pay a guy $61 million for 15 years. It's a stupid contract. The reason that the Mets did it was to get on the same level as the major players in Major League Baseball and to stick it to the Yankees, which they did in 1 year. But now I think that they're going to be penny pinching, and it looks like you guys might have the Wilpons again running the New York Mets, and his name is just Steve Cohen because he's going to be so worried about that casino that he's not even going to care about the Mets. And I bet you he threw that Met hat on, went down to Dick's, bought a Met hat, and been like, I've been a Met fan my whole life. I can't wait to buy these guys. It was your backdoor way of getting a casino in New York, and it finally worked. And now the question is, does Steve Cohen even give a shit?
Is there any indication of the players that they've kept around of what that way is? AJ kind of asked this too. Like, what is that? Because in Milwaukee, it was just, fine little value on the margins. He doesn't need to do that in New York. He has to do that, but he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, it's almost like he just wants to change the entire culture. I think he was so disgusted about last year, just the way they underachieved, that something was wrong. So I think there's been more stories coming out, particularly in spring training, like what was going on. We already saw stories, last couple of weeks about the whole.
Toyotathon is on. Discover holiday magic with a new Toyota. Awesome. Oh, Santa got my letter.
Every new relationship, with the, Lindor and Soto, which was always whispered, now starting to become more public.
All right, let's go to where Pete went to. Pete went to the O's. Are the O's going to still be able to get pitching? Do they want to get pitching, or is Mike Elias?
The Orioles said that they were spending this year, and I think as far as Pete Alonso going to the Orioles, that's a great move for them. In fact, I thought the Boston Red Sox should have picked up Pete Alonso, but he winds up going to the Baltimore Orioles, 5 years, $155 million, and guess what? The AL East just got a little bit tougher. Last year, the Orioles severely underperformed, and in fact, they were going to take the next step, and it looked like they had a young, great team on their hands 2 years ago. So don't be surprised if the Orioles make their way back into contention in the AL East, but just like he said, they're going to have to go get arms. They got a right-handed power bat first baseman, which they needed. I don't know why the Red Sox didn't go get him, but my question to you, Met fans, does this open up the door for the Japanese first baseman now? And do you think Steve Cohen might be looking for the international money for the New York Mets? And remember, you can go over to New York Minute. That's NEWYORKMIN on Instagram while I have this all broken down. Also, you can check out the show right here on YouTube. Every day I'm going to be posting about baseball and the winter hot stove meetings. Hopefully we'll have more news for you about the Mets and Yankees and their moves coming up. But just remember, it's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like and please subscribe, guys. It helps me out immensely. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.